There comes a point in life when you look around and realize no one's coming to help. The phone stays silent. The advice you hoped for never arrives. You start to wonder, is this how it's meant to be? But what if this moment, this silence, isn't punishment? What if it's the very thing that will shape your strength? The truth is, most people only grow when they're forced to stand alone. History hides countless stories of men and women who built empires without applause, who turned solitude into their teacher. They weren't chosen by luck. They were carved by isolation. When there's no one to lift you up, life is secretly training you to stand taller. In this video, I'll reveal how to rise when the world turns its back. You'll learn how to build momentum when no one believes in you, how to turn rejection into clarity, and how to use loneliness as the most powerful fuel you'll ever have. These are not theories. They are lessons pulled from real human experience, from moments when the great minds of history walked their roads alone. By the end, you'll see that being unsupported doesn't mean being powerless. In fact, it's the raw material of transformation, the hidden doorway that most never notice. Stay till the end, because what you'll hear today can completely change how you see yourself and your struggle. I'm Alan Watts, and this is Depth Talks, where we uncover the layers of thought, pain, and power that most people overlook. If you're ready to step beyond excuses, beyond loneliness, and into real growth, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, because this journey into self-mastery has only just begun. It's a hard truth to face. The moment you realize no one is coming to rescue you, the messages stop, the promises fade, you look for someone to guide you, but all you find is your own reflection staring back. That silence can feel heavy, almost unfair. But here's something no one tells you: that silence is the beginning of your real strength. Every person who ever did something extraordinary once stood exactly where you are now. Nikola Tesla, creating by candlelight with no support. Oprah Winfrey, rejected and doubted, yet showing up every single day. Steve Jobs, fired from his own company before building something greater. They weren't surrounded by cheerleaders, they were surrounded by uncertainty, and still they moved forward. The world has a strange rule. It often ignores you until you no longer need its approval. When you stop begging for help, when you stop waiting for validation, something inside you shifts. You begin to rely on yourself. You start finding answers in the quiet, power in the struggle. That's the moment life starts to change its tone. It's okay if no one believes in you right now. It's okay if you feel unseen, unheard, misunderstood. Every person who walks a unique path must first walk it alone. The loneliness you feel isn't a sign of failure. It's proof that you're walking a road few dare to travel. So instead of fighting the feeling, breathe into it. Recognize that countless souls have walked this same invisible road before you. They turned their isolation into invention, their silence into vision. You are not the only one standing in the dark. You are part of a quiet brotherhood of builders, thinkers, and dreamers who learn to light their own way forward. Most people chase the idea of getting ahead without ever stopping to ask, ahead of what and for whom. They run faster, work harder, compete louder, but the finish line keeps moving. That's because they're chasing someone else's version of success, not their own. The truth is, you can't move forward with power until you define what forward truly means for you. Maybe for you, getting ahead isn't about wealth or fame. Maybe it's about peace of mind. Maybe it's freedom from a job that drains you, or the courage to express something real. The world measures progress in numbers and noise, but your soul measures it in alignment. The people who rise and stay there are the ones who know their reason deeply, who don't need the crowd to clap before they act. Every time you feel lost or unsupported, your why becomes the only compass that still works. It reminds you why you started when no one noticed. It gives meaning to the long nights, the quiet effort, the uncertainty. Because when the applause fades, it's your inner purpose that keeps you walking. Ask yourself, what would still matter to you if no one was watching? What dream would you still chase if it never earned a single like, a single compliment, a single reward? That's your real reason. That's the kind of fuel that doesn't burn out. When you move from that place, from purpose, not pressure, you stop being a follower of trends and become the architect of your own path. Your actions start to carry weight. Every small victory feels full, even in silence. Because when your why is strong enough, you no longer need the world to believe in you. You already believe in yourself. At some point, you have to stop waiting for permission. No one else can tell you when you're ready. No mentor, no friend, no family member will ever understand your vision the way you do. Trust begins when you look in the mirror and decide, I'm responsible for what happens next. That decision is quiet, but it changes everything. Trusting yourself doesn't mean you'll always be right. It means you're willing to learn even when you're wrong. You stop blaming others. You stop expecting someone to fix it for you. The moment you take full ownership, you shift from being a passenger in your life to being the driver. And that's where growth begins. To build that trust, you need tools, skills that make you valuable to yourself. Read daily, learn something that challenges you, practice until your hands and mind remember the rhythm of progress, and fail hard, fail often, fail with purpose, because each mistake carves a deeper understanding, a wisdom that no book or teacher can give you. The people who seem unstoppable aren't lucky. They're learners who refuse to stop showing up. Once you start growing, set your own standards. Don't measure your worth by what others accept. Create rules that reflect your values, your discipline, your integrity. Hold yourself accountable, even when no one is watching. The world may never applaud your quiet consistency, but that's what builds real power. Every time you follow through on your word, you strengthen a bond with yourself. That bond becomes unbreakable over time. You stop depending on outside approval because you already know who you are and what you stand for. That's how self-trust is built. Through action, through discipline, and through the courage to take responsibility for everything in your path. Even when it feels like you're standing completely alone, you're not as isolated as you think. The world is full of quiet mentors, hidden in pages, voices, and stories waiting to be found. You might not have a team sitting beside you, but you can still build one piece by piece, moment by moment. Books can become your closest allies. A single paragraph from a great thinker can guide you more than hours of shallow advice. Podcasts can feed your mind with ideas from people who've already walked the road you're on. Online forums, when chosen wisely, can give you a sense of belonging, a reminder that others are also learning, failing, and trying again. These are your micro supports, small, consistent sparks of guidance that keep you moving when no one in your real life seems to understand. You can study the patterns of people who made it from nothing, listen to their lessons, absorb their mindset. The beauty of the digital age is that mentorship doesn't have to be personal to be powerful. You can be taught by someone you've never met, inspired by a stranger who speaks directly to your struggle. And then there's your own routine, your quiet structure that keeps you grounded. Waking up early, journaling your thoughts, reflecting before sleep, practicing gratitude. These habits form a support system that doesn't disappear. They build consistency when life feels unpredictable. You don't need a crowd to move forward. You just need a few steady anchors, a book that reminds you of who you want to become, a voice in your headphones that reignites your focus, a ritual that keeps your spirit steady. Bit by bit, these small supports bridge the emptiness, turning solitude into a foundation strong enough to carry you through anything. There's a dangerous habit many fall into: waiting for the right time, the right people, the right chance. But waiting is where dreams quietly die. The world doesn't move for those who stand still. It moves for those who start. You don't need perfect conditions to do meaningful work. You just need the courage to begin. Even a single step taken with intention carries more weight than 1,000 thoughts about what could be. Start where you are, with what you have. Focus on work that actually matters. Something that builds skill, discipline, and impact. Don't worry if no one notices. Don't worry if it feels too small. Great things rarely announce their beginnings. Every masterpiece starts as a sketch. Every success begins as a quiet, unseen effort that no one claps for. Momentum doesn't come from motivation. It comes from motion. Do one small task well, then another. Each win, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you're becoming. When you start collecting these small victories, you create a rhythm of progress. It's not about speed, it's about direction. Stop measuring your worth by the noise around you. Progress isn't the applause, it's the work itself. The early mornings you show up for, the skill you polish when no one's watching, the discipline you build in silence, those are your real milestones. When you start focusing on the action instead of the praise, something shifts. The outside world loses its power over your energy. You begin to find satisfaction in the doing, not the recognition. That's how momentum grows. Quietly, steadily, unshakably. Each action adds weight to your purpose. And before you know it, the person who once waited for help becomes the one others look to for inspiration. There's a kind of silence that can feel unbearable, the kind that comes when no one checks in, no one asks how you're doing, and no one sees the effort you're putting in. That silence has a way of echoing, making you question your worth, your choices, even your purpose. Loneliness can crush the spirit, if you let it. But if you look closely, it also holds a strange kind of power. Hidden inside that emptiness is freedom, the freedom to build your life without interruption, without judgment, without noise. When no one's around to tell you who to be, you get to decide for yourself. Solitude becomes your creative space. It strips away distraction and forces you to face the raw truth of who you are. That's where real transformation begins. Not in comfort, but in the quiet moments that test your strength. The absence of support is not a void. It's a workshop. It's where resilience is forged, where your thoughts sharpen and your will grows roots. Discomfort is a teacher that most people run from, but you can use it as your training ground. Every time you sit with that uneasy feeling, instead of escaping it, you become stronger. Each lonely night, each silent day, builds an invisible armor, thicker, tougher, more grounded. The pain of isolation slowly turns into self-reliance. There's no denying that loneliness hurts. But if you stop fighting it and start listening to what it's showing you, it transforms. You begin to see that solitude isn't emptiness. It's space. Space to think, to build, to evolve. While others seek comfort, you're learning endurance. And endurance, the quiet, steady kind, is what creates unbreakable people and unstoppable progress. There will be days when the people you counted on simply don't show up. Friends get busy, promises fade, support disappears. It stings at first, that quiet realization that not everyone who started with you will finish with you. But instead of waiting for someone to return, you learn to show up for yourself. That's where real discipline begins, when you no longer depend on others to keep you moving. You build your own rhythm. You create routines that anchor you when everything else feels uncertain. A simple morning ritual, a set time for work, a daily walk, a moment of reflection before bed. These habits become your silent allies. They don't cheer, they don't comfort, but they keep you steady. Success isn't built on intensity, it's built on consistency. The person who shows up every single day, even when no one's watching, quietly outruns everyone who waits for motivation. Each day is a block of time that never comes back. You can spend it wishing for support, or you can use it to build something solid. Time doesn't care how you feel, it rewards what you do. Even small, deliberate actions stack up over weeks and months until progress becomes inevitable. When you treat time with respect, it becomes your greatest partner. Every hour used well sharpens your focus, strengthens your will, and pushes you forward. You don't need to rush, you just need to be consistent. The truth is, no one can hold you accountable better than you can. Show up. Do the work. Keep your promises to yourself. Because the moment you master the art of self-commitment, you stop waiting for others to believe in you. You become the proof that discipline outlasts everything: motivation, praise, and even loneliness. When no one's clapping for you, it's easy to start craving approval like oxygen. You finish something meaningful, but without anyone there to notice, it feels unfinished. That's the quiet trap of external validation. It makes your worth depend on other people's reactions. The likes, the praise, the attention, they give you a momentary high, but when they fade, you're left questioning yourself again. It's a cycle that steals your confidence and turns your effort into performance. The truth is, the absence of applause can be your greatest gift. It forces you to build your own sense of value. When you start validating yourself, your motivation shifts. You no longer ask, will they like this? You ask, does this feel true to me? That change is everything. It moves you from dependency to freedom. Your work becomes an expression, not a plea for recognition. Validation from within isn't arrogance, it's alignment. It's looking at your effort and saying, I showed up, I tried, I grew. No one else needs to confirm that for it to be real. You become both the creator and the witness of your progress. And when you do that, the noise of the world starts to lose its power. Doing what matters to you might not always be popular. People may not understand why you chose the harder path or stayed committed to something invisible, but meaning is rarely visible in the beginning. The reward is not the applause, it's the peace of knowing you're walking your own path with integrity. The moment you stop chasing recognition and start honoring your truth, you find a deeper kind of confidence, the kind that doesn't disappear when the crowd turns silent. When you don't have someone showing you the way, you have to become your own compass. No guide, no mentor, no clear map, just trial, error, and the willingness to learn as you go. At first, that uncertainty can feel disorienting. You'll question if you're moving in the right direction, if your efforts are enough, if your choices make sense. But that's exactly how real growth happens. You're not following a path, you're creating one. The key is to build your own feedback loops. Pay attention to what's working and what's not. Listen carefully to your results, your energy, your emotions. They're constantly telling you something if you're quiet enough to notice. When something fails, don't take it as a verdict, take it as information. Adjust your approach, tweak your methods, and try again. The ability to self-correct is one of the most powerful skills a person can have. It keeps you from being stuck and makes you adaptable in any situation. Flexibility is strength disguised as softness. It's not about changing your goal, it's about changing your route when the old one no longer works. The most successful people aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who recover faster each time they do. They bend, they shift, they evolve. Without someone to tell you what to do next, you learn to rely on your instincts. You learn to trust the quiet signals that others often ignore. Over time, this practice shapes you into someone who doesn't panic when plans crumble, but instead recalibrates. You begin to see uncertainty not as a threat, but as an invitation to grow sharper, wiser, more capable. Because in a world that's constantly changing, the ones who survive aren't the most certain, they're the most adaptable. There comes a point in your journey when the loneliness that once felt unbearable starts to fade. You've built yourself from the ground up, learned to stand alone, and found strength in silence. But the real beauty of rising isn't just reaching the top. It's turning around and offering a hand to those still climbing, because you remember what it felt like to walk that road alone. You remember the doubt, the exhaustion, the endless search for direction, and that memory becomes a quiet fire that drives you to give back. When you support others who are still finding their footing, something shifts inside you. The walls that isolation built begin to soften. You start to see that the purpose of strength isn't to stand apart, it's to lift others without losing your balance. Connection doesn't always come from those who helped you. It often comes from those you choose to help. Guiding someone else doesn't weaken your progress, it deepens it. Teaching, encouraging, or simply listening reminds you of how far you've come. It brings your lessons full circle. Each time you share your story, your struggle turns into wisdom, your pain turns into guidance. You begin to realize that growth isn't meant to be hoarded. It's meant to ripple outward. Supporting others also protects you from falling back into the emptiness of isolation. It roots your success in purpose, not ego. You're no longer just surviving, you're contributing. The people you help today may one day carry forward what you've taught them, creating a chain of resilience that outlives you. In lifting others, you don't lose your strength, you multiply it. And that's when the journey feels complete. Not when you reach the peak, but but when you help someone else start their climb. So we've come full circle from the moment of feeling alone and unseen to discovering that solitude can be the greatest teacher you'll ever have. You've learned that progress begins in the mind when you stop waiting for help and start trusting yourself. You've seen how self-reliance builds power, how small daily habits shape your future, and how consistency turns ordinary effort into unstoppable growth. Every stage of this journey has one message running through it. You can get ahead even when no one is there for you. You don't need permission, approval, or applause. All you need is the decision to begin. So take that first step today, no matter how small. Read one page, write one idea, work on one goal, because progress doesn't start with a crowd cheering you on. It starts with you showing up for yourself. Your path is waiting. It won't always be easy, but it will be yours, authentic, raw, and real. And every moment you move forward, you prove that being alone never meant being powerless. It meant being free. If this message spoke to you, let it echo forward. Like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe to Depth Talks for more reflections that reach beyond the surface. Your story isn't written by those who walked away, it's written by you, in every quiet act of courage. Your path is yours. Let's begin.